Hello and welcome to another episode of Stuff You Should Know. My name is Gary Williams, Director of Corporate Communications here at the Region. And today I am joined by Nancy Taylor. She is the Commissioner of Finance. Welcome, Nancy.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Today we're going to be talking all about the budget, and I'm sure you and your team are very busy in preparing that and getting everything ready. So let me launch into the first set of questions that I have for you. So can you talk a little bit about the annual business planning and budget cycle for the region? What does that look like?
Absolutely. It's actually an interesting thing because we never ever really stop doing budgets. So it does have an annual process, but by the time we finish the last step, we're back into lessons learned and working on the first step again. And it generally starts with our asset management plan. And we have reports posted on the website that are quite detailed, that are fascinating if you are of a mindset to enjoy that. So the asset management plan at a very, very high level essentially talks about the things that the region owns, like buildings and fleet and vehicles, infrastructure, and their condition, and it essentially prioritizes what needs to be looked at first in order to keep everything in an acceptable condition. That feeds into updating a 5-year operating and capital plan, so that we can get a sense from the departments, what do they know that's coming in the next couple of years? What are their pressures for the upcoming year? We can start to prioritize and think about what those are. That leads us into a guideline report that goes to council that establishes what a cap will be on our property tax increase for that year. And the council then has a flavor for what the pressures are based on the work that has led up to that. Then we actually go through the line by line nitty gritty budget submission process with the departments in order to comply with that cap that's set by council. Goes through the approval process with council, and then we follow up with lessons learned and performance metrics, and how we can make sure that we're delivering on those budget items. And then that leads us back into starting the next year's process all over again.
So it's a never-ending process. I get that. When do you think everything should be wrapped up this year and we have a final budget that council has taken a look at and approved? When do you see that happening this year?
So that's a very exciting question for those of us that are that live and breathe this sort of stuff.
Sure.
The region's budget typically has been approved in February or March in any given year. And this year we have moved that forward to get it approved by the end of January. And then our goal in the next 2 years is to try to get it approved before the end of the current year, so that it would be approved in December of any year. It's a massive amount of work to shift all of those timelines, so it's taking us a bit, but it's very exciting to us that we have it coming to council for January.
Excellent. So my next question is always a bit of a challenge. So we know we have regional government, we have municipal government, we have local government. Can you explain how the regional tax dollars, what do they go to fund in comparison to municipal tax dollars and the education portion of the property tax bill? How does that all work in a very simple manner, if you could?
I will give it a try.
Yeah.
That is a very confusing issue. I'm not sure if you're aware, I used to work at the local level for many, many, many years and have come to the region fairly recently. So it's a question that's often been asked. So when a resident receives their property tax bill, it covers 3 different things, as you alluded to. So a chunk of it does go for school board costs. So the check gets mailed directly to the school board in the area that you reside in. A portion of it goes to the local area municipality, which in our context are things like Clarington, Whitby, Ajax, Oshawa, Pickering, and the municipalities to the north. So they have their services that they fund. And that's typically things like fire, parks and recreation, local planning, libraries, for example, are often local level, animal services. Those are often, among others, but those are the obvious ones that are typically paid for in the local piece of the bill. And then the region's share of the bill is that third piece that you mentioned. And we cover services that are more effectively provided across larger territories. So that's why we fund things like police and paramedics, public health, social services, so long-term care homes and children's centers, regional planning responsibilities, waste management. Generally those areas that it's more economical to provide it to a larger area. We get sort of bang for our buck by doing that, if you will.
Great, thank you for that. So we know COVID-19 has affected everything, and the budget's no different. And it's put plans on hold and changed everything we do from, working from home, which we are right now, and obviously to the budget process. So how do you see COVID-19 affecting the whole 2021 budget for the region?
Well, certainly it is at the forefront of all of our minds. As you say, here we are working from home right now. The challenge is that COVID isn't going to go away. So even if a vaccine was found tomorrow, practical reality is our budget starts providing services January 1st. So there are implications for COVID that will be long lasting. So we have two, I'll say, different buckets of things right now that we're looking at. The first is those immediate, I'll say, one-time pressures of COVID. So right now it's personal protective equipment. It is things like screeners at long-term care entrances so that anybody can't just walk in particularly in light of the sensitivities there. The public health screening and calling. So there's a whole bunch of things that are one-time immediate at the height of a pandemic that are of concern. The second COVID implication for the 2021 budget is lessons learned. So for some areas, this will permanently change how we do service delivery. We simply can't just go back to how we did it before. So those COVID implications are going to be permanent changes to how we deliver our services. So, things like the standard of care in long-term care homes. So in the press recently, it was been announced that the province wants to move to 4 hours of dedicated nursing or public or PSW support. So those kinds of things are permanent changes that we have to figure out how to grapple with from a budget perspective.
It's definitely a challenging time for everyone. Based on the current economic landscape and, with COVID in mind as well, what are some of the key priorities and challenges for the region for the 2021 budget? Can you explain some of those?
Certainly. So the first obvious one is these direct cost implications of COVID. And there has been some funding that's been provided to us in 2020 that hopefully will give us a bit of spillover support into the early part of 2021. So those are the areas that I just mentioned where we need to change how we do things or enhance how we do things. The rest of our budget outside of COVID is really centered around Council's 5 strategic plan priorities. So within each of those priorities, we have a couple of examples, if that's helpful to maybe walk through to explain. So under service excellence, which is a priority of council, we are looking at way more virtual services, and we're looking at a My Durham 311 project to try to transform how people interact with the region and how we can more effectively provide services without somebody having to drive someplace to sign up or pay. So that's one very big initiative under service excellence. Another category under the strat plan is social investment. So for that one, what's been highlighted under COVID, of course, is homelessness and affordable housing issues. It's very hard to socially distance if you don't have a home to socially distance in. So we have a lot of initiatives to do with supportive housing units, initiatives around a micro home pilot project, and even then initiatives around creating what's called a community improvement plan that could help fund affordable housing. Those are sort of our big priorities under that social investment. Community vitality is another one that's important to us. So under that, we have initiatives around diversity and inclusion. We've had, as you would have hosted and been involved with, the anti-Black racism town hall. So there's a number of things that we need to address coming out of that. But we also have things like mobile crisis response. So additional funding for when the police are called for a crisis response that involves a mental health issue and supporting having nurses partnered there to respond. So enhancing that service is one of them. And I guess the last one, maybe that's an obvious under that community vitality, is our paramedic program, where it's the primary care outreach program, and it's direct services where a social worker and a paramedic will go to homeless areas where some of the homeless are trying to survive and try to provide some direct hands-on care right there and see where they can assist. 2 more areas we have: economic prosperity. So that strategic plan 1, broadband is a huge issue there. And it's been magnified as well by COVID. It's hard to have your children learning from home if you can't get a decent bandwidth. So those are significant challenges. But as well, the Region of Durham's official plan completion and looking at things like transit-oriented development and the Go East extension. So some very big priorities there under economic prosperity and support to businesses during the COVID and how the region can help through our economic development. And then the last one is environmental sustainability. So a lot of climate change initiatives that we have, including a master plan that hopefully we'll be seeing early in the year as well, and some related initiatives around that. So lots of very big issues that council is trying to enhance through the strategic plan.
That's great. Thanks for that, Nancy. So I guess my final question is, we're always encouraging residents and business to provide feedback and learn more. How can our residents and business provide that feedback on the 2021 budget and learn more about it?
So we are trying very much to enhance our communications. I think you were also helped involved in our recent budget town hall, virtual town hall. So we're trying to solicit as much input as we can. So people can email budgets@durham.ca with any of their thoughts and ideas. And we have a lot that's been populated onto the region's website as well. So if they want to go to durham.ca/budgets, there's some very good information. And as well, I think they can see the videos of the town hall as it posted there and some of the Q&A. So some very good informative pieces there as well.
That's great. Well, thank you for joining us today. That was a lot of great information. And thank you for the time today, Nancy. And look forward to speaking to you further, maybe on another episode. We'll have you back. Maybe when the budget's all wrapped up and you guys get through all that hard work and start again, we'll have you back for another conversation.
That sounds great. I'd very much appreciate it. Thank you for the chance to get a bit of our messaging out, because I think it helps for people to understand exactly what we're doing and why.
Absolutely. Thanks, Nancy.
Thanks very much.